Andy Smith, the Chair of the Coney County Conservation Bank Board, calling the meeting to order, the May 19, 2020 meeting. We have a quorum present, or our members, Laura Havron, Marvin Prater, Emily Hitchcock, Ryan Keese remotely, and myself, Andy Smith. The quorum's 4. Frank Abels is not here, and he has actually resigned from the board, and Fran Rundelet is not here. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion about the minutes? All in the favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Aye. I mean, I'm not opposed, just by that same sign.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
did Ryan vote?
Ryan, did you vote?
Yes, I said aye, and then I said Ryan Keys.
Can we turn him up a little? Okay. All right, we can't turn you up, so we'll just have to listen out carefully. Next item on it is treasurer's report. I think, Laura, you have some of that with you. and
I do. I have the
Katie's going
community
to give
first.
you the rest.
You got community first?
Yeah.
This is community? All right, so this is February, March, and April.
Okay.
So, oh gosh, I can't, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is the beginning, this is the reinvestment, and then this is the end.
Okay.
All three.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Do you care which one I do first?
If you can do February, March, April, and then I'll have those ready for you to sign later. Like the community first ones, I'll have those done for you later.
Okay.
to sign.
Okay. All right. Okay, the South Carolina Office of the State Treasurer, the Local Government Investment Pool Statement Account for February 1st, 2020 through February 29th, 2020. The beginning balance is wait, how do I say this? 5,390, am I saying it right? 539,878.57. Sorry, it's early. The reinvestment amount was $747.66, and the ending balance on February 29th, 2020 was $540,626.23. The local government investment pool for March 1st, 2020 through March 31st, 2020. The beginning balance is $540,626.23. The reinvestment amount was $725.97 with an ending balance of $541,352.20. The local government investment pool for April 1st, 2020 through April 30th, 2020. The beginning balance was $541,352.20. The reinvestment amount was $622.39 for a closing balance of $541,974.59. Conservation Bank Board account at Community First Bank, account number ending in 183. For the period ending February 29th, 2020, the opening balance was $15,660. There were no deposits or expenditures for a closing balance of $15,660. The Community First Bank account ending in 183, period ending March 31st, 2020. Opening balance was $15,660. There were no deposits, no expenditures for an ending balance of $15,660. Let's get that right. Okay, Community First Bank account ending in 183. And this is for April 30th, ending period April 30th, 2020. The opening balance is $15,660. There was a deposit of $1,150, no expenditures, and the ending balance was $16,810 and no cents.
Very good. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Ryan?
I'll say aye.
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda are discussion items. And the only thing we have under there is alternate funding sources, and I'll just say that deposit in April in the Community First account of $1,150 came from Rally in the Valley, which is a private group that board members Emily Hitchcock and I participate in. And Laura, I think, were you participating in that at all? Fran participated a little bit. We were going to have a fundraising event on May 2nd. It was canceled, but we still raised funds and paid our expenses, and we made a contribution to the Coney County Conservation Bank. The other thing that I'd like to mention in that area is we've often talked about when we're going to go back to Duke Energy for funding and raise other funds. We have already discussed plans on raising other funds, but we might consider when we're thinking about Duke Energy, we have 145,000 or so dollars in grant applications on the table today. And if those are all approved, that's going to take us down to just over $400,000 in our account. I don't think that's the time that we should be going back to Duke, but we might ought to start thinking about what dollar figure we do want to use as our trigger to go back to Duke. I don't think that we have to finish that now or discuss that now, but it's just something to think about. Any comments on that? Okay. Now we're at unfinished business, item 5. Several items there. First that I have on there is Eddie Martin, would you give us the status on the Peggy Moore property project?
Yes, sir. Peggy Moore property is, I have just completed the NRCS application for her. They asked me to hold off on the application until they were assured of funds through this latest farm bill. So I've just finished that got that into NRCS. It is in their ranking stage right at the moment. So what we probably need to do, I may need to withdraw the request that I had on her property and come back to you when all of the NRCS application is completed. They approve it, and then we'll come back to you and the South Carolina Conservation Bank for continued funding on that property. She also added another 21 acres to the site.
Okay, very good. So it'll be mid 40s acreage, I guess, right?
It's about 36, I think. I'd have to look at it.
And then adding 21 more.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So around 50 acres.
About 50, between 50 and 55, something like that.
Great. We understand our next cycle's August 1st. The next cycle after that's November 1st. So if you could just send a letter withdrawing that application, I think that would put the period on that sentence, okay?
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
do that.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chris Starker, would you give us a status on the Ernie Lombard project?
Lombard project. Yes, that's waiting on an appraisal for that actually, and I believe Ernie had, Ernie had, he goes by Ole sometimes. Ernie has he had inquired an appraiser that he wanted to use, who said that he then replied and said he was unqualified, and that was right before the pandemic started, and he's basically just taking a break right now. So he's just kind of letting things fall where they are.
Okay.
And I have secured an appraiser for him. I can't remember his name, Alan McCravey, from Stone and Associates. He's ready to go for him. It's just a matter of Ernie just giving him the thumbs up to go. So that's where we are.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chris. Emily, you've got a policy proposal for us.
Yes, I have put at everyone's desk a proposed policy for applicant privacy. It's a cut and paste for the heading of it. Katie would have to get us a format using the Oconee County Conservation Bank heading that we use on our other forms. I've proposed it as policy number 001. The purpose of the policy is to establish requirements to ensure that the personal information of eligible OCCB recipients and property owners is protected to the extent permitted under the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. My motion, well, let me go ahead. The policy has 3 points. One is that it would require the applicant to submit both a redacted and a unredacted application, which would make it easier for Katie. She could simply put the redacted application on the public website and could put, and then send to the board members the clean, unredacted. I hope I didn't mix those words up in my statement there. The second point, it identifies what information, and based on the applications and my reviews of the policies and past practices of the OCCB, personal telephone numbers, personal email addresses, the balance of a mortgage, not the existence or the mortgagor, but the balance can be redacted, and all federal and state income tax records that are submitted can be redacted. So those are the items that I listed to be redacted. And then I did add a point that if for some reason there was material being submitted that the applicant felt was also could be redacted under the Freedom of Information Act, that they could petition the board if there was something other than those 4 types of information. So I'm making a motion to adopt policy number 0001, title Applicant Privacy.
We have a second on that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on this motion?
Have we had why are we doing this? Have we had a problem, or have we not put stuff on the website before?
Well, recently, we have begun redacting that private information.
Which I understand, I'm not questioning that.
But it means Katie has to go through every single page and redact it. And in other grant programs that I have been either an applicant or the awardor, on the team awarding it, we have required the applicants to submit 2 applications to make it easier for the staff when the applications are going to be part of the public venue.
Okay. Well, that's a good explanation, because, Katie shouldn't be in a position to determining whose
That's correct.
information should be private or not, so.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand that.
I think it's a really good idea, and thank you for that so much, Emily. And the only addition I would have is just the concept that somewhere in our guidelines to potential applicants, they need to know that they've got to do that. So we've got to add it to our instructions for them,
Yeah.
just like our instructions for the statement of interest form. Somewhere they've got to know they have to do that.
So what I can do is I can add that, and then we can bring that up at the next meeting, because we would have to
Okay.
approve.
Okay,
that
very good.
documentation.
Okay.
So,
Okay, understood.
Yeah, so I can add that and then bring it up.
How about any comments from Eddie or Chris or Mac?
Yeah, any of you folks out there remote have a comment? Eddie, Mac,
No,
Chris?
No.
no, thank you.
Very good. Any more discussion?
The only other comment I have is, Katie sends us a lot of material, and I don't think we should be sending out the redacted stuff to us. I mean, it's only for the website.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Yes, because I just think about whenever she sends information out, I have to go look and see, do we already have that? Am I going to print it and am I going to save it? So I'm just thinking, I don't need, we don't need one more document to say.
That's correct. So the policy is that we get the
Unredacted version,
The
and we do
Public
not
gets
get the
The
redacted.
public gets the
Right,
redacted.
right.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
Sorry, I was a little confused, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
That's why I had a
Yeah.
confused
You're correct, right. We don't get an additional.
Yeah. I don't need to kill any more trees.
Any more discussion?
And it occurred to me, I do need to amend the motion to add that this policy and any future policies would need to be posted on the website. And I know David told us that at least one other board or commission does post their policies. And that makes it very easy for anyone who's interested in filing an application to be able to go as we develop our policies and get everything off the website. So I would like to make the
Make your
amendment
full
would
motion
be-
again then.
Okay, so
Your amended motion.
the amended motion would be to adopt policy number 001 titled Applicant Privacy, and to direct staff to establish a spot on the website to post all policies, including this one.
We have a second?
I second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye.
Aye, excuse me.
Thank you, sir.
So that was to amend that motion, correct?
Yes. Yeah, the first motion.
Do we need to withdraw that first motion?
No.
No.
Okay.
No, my question is, would you need to have a motion and approve for the entire thing, or did this just?
That the amended motion included adopting the policy and the requirement to post it.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. All right, we're still in number 5, unfinished business. So I'm reporting on the amendments that we've approved to the OCCB ordinance. The committee that goes to stop meeting with the virus pandemic. It will actually meet, it's the Real Estate Facilities and Land Management Committee. It's going to meet at 4:30 on June 16th. I'm going to go to that meeting. Best case scenario, they'll approve the proposed amendments, and then the earliest case scenario for actual approval by the council and to be in force is September 1st. That's my report on that. I think that we should also, maybe we shouldn't, but if that goes through, and we think it will, includes the requirement for a grant agreement, we should form a grant agreement committee to work on developing our grant agreement that we're going to use per the amendments to the ordinance.
A
And-
written grant agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the idea is that every applicant is going to sign a grant agreement that they'll be bound by as part of the application and funding
We don't
process.
have that today?
Hmm?
We don't have that today?
That is correct, we do not have that.
Okay.
We have our ordinance, which they've got to adhere to those standards. They've got the conservation easement after it's funded,
Right.
which they have to adhere to, or the requirements in the deed after it's funded and that transaction goes
Okay.
forward. Okay. So,
And Andy?
Yes, ma'am.
Query. I'm trying to remember, we were anticipating the grant agreement would be recorded once signed or not?
I
know
think it
we had
is, yes.
discussions.
Yeah.
Okay,
And we'll come back with that
okay,
suggestion if it's not already in our amendments to the ordinance. I don't remember offhand, but I agree with you, I think it is.
okay.
I think, since I'm talking about committees, that I think there's probably not, that there's a good idea for us to have a committee to, and it could be the same one, to review our statement of interest form, our application form, and our evaluation forms as well. So my question to y'all, would you want to just put it all together, or would you want to have two separate committees working on that?
Probably together, I think.
Okay,
I'm fine with together.
so I'm going to go ahead and move that we create a grant agreement / application review committee. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Any discussion? And that it will be peopled by volunteers. Any more discussion?
Is it only board members, or could it be somebody like Chris, Mac, and Eddie?
I don't know if there's a rule on that for us. We can take that under advisement and check the rules, talk to David Root about that. Why don't we just do that, Ellen?
I have an interest in particularly the application form, because so I will volunteer because I have a particular interest and have been making some notes about where I think we could have some improvement in
Sure.
our
So-
forms and evaluation.
Okay, got you there. So on Laura's question though, let's just leave that open. If we can do it, we'll open it to that, and we'll do that by invitation.
Okay.
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 Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Brian?
Brian, what'd you say?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, sir. The other thing that I have on my unfinished, actually, I guess it should go into new business. Anything else on unfinished old business?
Do we need to establish, I'm sorry, I got ahead of the motion that was on the table when I said I would volunteer. Do we need to establish the membership of the committee?
We're gonna do it by volunteers. You're volunteering.
Oh, okay, so.
I'm volunteering. Anybody else want to volunteer?
I'll volunteer. Because
Right.
I've questioned some of the forms, so.
Very good. Okay, so right now we got Emily, Laura, and AJS on that. That's fine. Okay, so we got a committee. It lives. New business on there. If I may, I'm just going to interject something because it came up. This COVID scenario caused something to come up regarding the applications on our table. And that's that skewed my thinking about what we were doing logistically, and we did not do our visits until I did visits this weekend. Laura and Emily did visits yesterday. I was thinking perhaps one way that we might deal with that is create in advance, because we get our applications before August 1st. Our first meeting will be August whenever, 19th or so. And it would be nice at that August 19th meeting if we've already done our visit, so we had questions at that point that we could present to applicants that are here or discuss and then send out to our applicants. We did do a query this time of our applicants that came up from reviewing it. And if we did our visits before that first meeting where we group all the applications and say, here's what we got on our table, here's what we need to think about, and we'll have those before that meeting, it'll give us an opportunity at a meeting to come up with our questions to then send to them. So if we've done our visit before, and the way we could do that to fix the logistical problem is go ahead and say, okay, right now, on May 16th, the first two people that are going to do visits are these two people. The second two people are going to be these two people, and et cetera. So we could go ahead and make a list. If we had 3 applications come in, we could already have our people scheduled to go do it. And if it came a problem where somebody couldn't make their visit, it'd be up to them to say, hey, so-and-so, can you step in for me and be the number 2 person on this? What do y'all think about that idea? I mean, we should all be doing these visits, so putting us on there, or if somebody, if we put Marvin and Andy on the number one go-to visits, and Marvin has a conflict, we would just say, Marvin, find somebody to sub for you for this.
Yeah, I don't know, being that yesterday was my first visit, I think it was Emily's first site visit. I don't have any, I don't feel like we needed to do it ahead or then. I don't know that there's an advantage to it, but then maybe there is. What do you think, Emily?
Well, I think our property did not lend itself to having many questions. Another property
Okay,
might.
might, and
So
so
I
maybe
think
that would
that kind
come
of
up in a
skewed our
site
view.
visit.
We kind of went out going, wow, isn't this gorgeous?
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, we're giving out $88,000 or $50,000. You hadn't seen the property, it's like, no, you gotta get your eyes on the property.
Yeah, so
You have
maybe
to.
going ahead of time is good, yeah.
'Cause you don't know what'll come
I have no
up.
problem with it, so.
We get pictures, we look at, a 2016 aerial from the county website. Something might have happened between now and 2016.
Yeah.
So I think it's our policy that we do it. We don't have to do it. It's not the ordinance, but we should. And so this is a way to make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks. So I'll move that we do that. Do we have a second? I move that we establish a list of which board members visit properties as applications come in.
Why don't you just make a motion and set up, 3 pairs?
Yeah.
In your motion, since we don't have a
Okay.
second yet.
Okay,
And
very
then it's just one vote.
All right, that's good. So I move that AJS and Marvin are the first pair, that Emily and Laura are the second pair, Ryan and Fran or Frank's replacement is the third pair. Well, we'll do Ryan and Fran because Frank is off the board. He's resigned. So there's our pairs. I move that we establish that order of board members to visit properties as applications come in before the first meeting after the application window closes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan. Good. Okay, so now we're still on new business. We're going to start in with the Chapman Bridge application. We're going to work our criteria sheets. We will also have a report from Emily and Laura, a verbal report, and I believe a written report on that. So if you would pull your criteria sheets. And your application, if you need it in front of you.
As we get started, should we have a motion on who's going to do the Chapman Bridge 404 findings for council?
Well, I was thinking we would do that at the end, have that same person do them for all of them.
Okay.
Will that work?
It will work. I just think as a matter of practice, it might be easier in case I'm not volunteering in the future for the person to know that they're providing the 404 findings while we're doing the discussions.
Say again.
I am volunteering to do them today.
Yes, ma'am.
But in the future, if I don't volunteer to do the 404 findings, then it might be easier for whoever ends up getting assigned this task if they know while we're discussing it and can take notes. So it might be better to have that decision made at the beginning.
I like that. Go ahead.
Is the 404 findings
That,
The ordinance findings that we report to the council.
okay.
and we have
Yes, I
to-
agree with you, Emily.
Yeah.
Are you moving?
Do we need a motion, or she's just volunteering to do it?
Well, I'm volunteering today, so I guess I'll make a motion that I will do all the 404 findings for council for all three applications being considered today.
I second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Do we need a motion on establishing that as a policy?
Did Ron vote?
Ryan, did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I said aye.
I think we've already made that motion, and I'm gonna go through all our old minutes and see if we have other policies that we need to
Okay,
reduce to writing to help us.
but we don't have a policy that we do this before we go through the applications. That's what I was asking.
No, I think
Okay,
that's.
all right, good. So, I just got a note that Chris Starker's, Chris, you still with us? Chris?
Yes, I'm here.
How's your Zoom connection? Eddie and Ryan and, Mac, I want to ask all of y'all, how are y'all Zoom connections? Is everybody stable?
I'm good. This is Mac.
Eddie? Eddie, is your Zoom connection stable?
I don't understand.
I mean, yeah, have you got a good connection, reliable connection? You can hear us, you can talk?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, how about you, Ryan? You good?
Yes, I'm good.
Chris, how you doing?
Well, I think I'm okay. I switched computers, but I've got 3 kids on e-learning today and my wife working from home, so I think there's 5 of us jamming up our brain waves over here. But I'm here.
Okay,
He's here.
so I'm gonna keep it in the same order it's on the agenda, and that's starting with the Chapman Bridge application. We're now gonna go through our criteria sheet. And there's the summary, okay.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, ma'am.
before we Get started, would you like me to go print out more copies? Because I only printed out 1 copy. Do you need additional?
I'm gonna keep a ledger, independent ledger
Okay.
on a piece of paper, okay? So, now we're on page 1 of 4 on our criteria worksheet. Okay, everybody there? Okay, starts with environmental sensitivity. What's our scoring on, wetlands?
0.
Okay? And please speak up if you got something to say about each one. We're just gonna go through it then. USGS, blue line, streams and lakes,
5.
5.
okay? Adjacents to waters classified,
0.
0.
And I had a question here because I'm remembering it goes into Lake Kiowee. And I think we addressed that in the ordinance that we can, but I can't remember if last time we gave a point or 2 for something that was not adjacent but would be impacted by the stream. I gave it a 0 because it's not adjacent. I just could not remember from our discussion whether we went ahead and gave it a point or if we were waiting until we get the change to the ordinance that just says,
I don't know, Emily, I don't think we're gonna be able to answer that question.
okay,
So we
0.
just- Okay, all right. 4, presence of or habitat suitable for threatened and endangered species,
5.
okay? Presence of or habitat suitable for native wildlife species,
5.
good. Presence of special or concentrated biodiversity,
5.
unique geologic natural feature,
5.
okay? And y'all know that we sent out queries. We asked for queries from folks to send to the applicants to follow through, and that was one of the questions about the unique geological feature. And we had, I thought, a good response from that.
Yes.
Next category is percentage of property sharing a boundary with protected land. What's our score on that one?
I actually gave it a 1 because even though it is not sharing a boundary, it is close to a state park and there are some possible connectivity plans. So rather than give it a 0, I gave it 1, but it technically, it does not share a boundary So I'm okay with whatever everybody wants to do.
Any other thoughts on that?
Understanding the layout and where it's at, and the fact that just on the other side of the Duke power lines, there are protected properties over there. So to me, I would give it more than that even.
And,
But I don't know if we have to have that.
Back, there are no fences on the easement, is that correct?
This is Mac, and I think you were asking me.
Yes, sir.
Is that right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
There is, so this is not an easement, or do you mean the Duke right-of-way easement?
I'm talking about the Duke power line.
The Duke power line, there are not fences, no.
So that boundary that's this property, Duke power line easement, protected properties, there's free movement for wildlife between those properties, correct?
That's correct. Wildlife can move freely between Chapman Bridge, the Duke power line, the Kiwi HOA easemented lands, and our property, the McKinney Creek Oconee Bell Preserve, the 195 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's on the Duke property that borders that. It's on two sides of it, or maybe it's even a triangular, 2/3 of it. So,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with giving it a point or two for that. What about 2? Everybody good with that?
sure.
Good? Okay.
Okay. Next one, historic cultural features. We have anything from that?
No.
I've got 0 at the bottom. How about y'all?
I do too.
Zero.
Yeah, there's no historical features.
Okay. Prime statewide important soil types. What's somebody's final pointage on that?
0.
It's mostly mud. As evidenced by Emily and Laura.
Being there yesterday.
Sorry, Mac. Mac.
How about it being farmed?
0.
0.
How about public visibility of property?
I gave it a 5 because it is visible from the road.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's what it's asking. How about the scenic views from the property?
I gave it a 0. It's gorgeous, but I don't think there are any scenic views.
Yeah, it's not like it's very, very wooded, but the streams are just gorgeous, but.
Yeah.
Mac, you got anything to say about that?
I do. So I guess it depends how you define scenic views.
Yeah, define it for us.
If there were, if half the forest were gone, you would then have scenic views, but you'd be missing half the forest.
Yes, sir.
So I think when you come down into the forest, and when Laura and Emily joined me yesterday, the scenic views are all over the property. There are these very old mountain laurels that are blooming. There are waterfalls. There's beautiful streams and feeder seats. So it just depends what your definition of scenic views are.
Well, I think we're talking about scenic views that are not on the property,
But you know what?
that can be had from the property looking out, like mountain views.
But you know what? If you read the description there, it does say, description of mountains, rivers, features in the view. It is true. When you stand up at the top of the hill and you're looking out on both sides and it's going down it is a beautiful view. So,
Well, that's what it's asking, is whether standing somewhere on the property, you can look out beyond the property and get a scenic view.
no, it doesn't
No.
say beyond the property.
I think that's the intent.
But I did too, I've always interpreted the public visibility of the public access would address what we see while we're on the property. And I always thought of the scenic view as because there will be properties that are on top of a mountain where you can get up on a knob and you can have a gorgeous scenic view. I just don't think this is one of those properties. But perhaps that's something when the committee meets, we need to look at a little closer.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree that it's not completely clear, but I think that's how we've treated this before. The aspect of it in the earlier question of looking at the property from outside and then looking outside from the property, like you could be standing on a cliff and looking out at this wonderful scenic view down the Piedmont. But so what's our vote on points for that? Scenic view from property?
I'd say at least a 2, I think. I mean, it is beautiful. I mean, you may not see a mountain, but
Scenic view from property. Okay, anybody else?
I had it as a 0. I think it's a matter of interpretation about what that means.
Marvin, what do you want to give it?
I'm leaning toward the strict, the 0, but 1, I'm good with giving it a 1.
I'm leaning more
I've
towards
been on the
0 just
property,
because
and
of the
I
way
think
I
it's-
read that.
Ryan was
Hey,
saying
this is
something, Andy.
Ryan.
What's Ryan?
Yeah, this is Ryan. I've been on the property, and in fact, I showed it to a prospective buyer. This was a couple of years ago, and my vote would be at least 2 because I think it's extremely scenic down even along the creek corridor. But if the definition is scenic view, like vista from the property, but for what that's worth, I think a 2 would be suitable.
All right, let's give it a 1. That
Okay.
work for everybody?
Yeah, split the difference.
Yeah. All right, and we will work on that language in the application. Public access. Limited, unlimited. We have a maximum of 10 points. Where are we on that?
I gave it 10. It'll be unlimited for hiking. Now, it's limited to hiking, but it will be unlimited public access for that purpose.
And we had a question on our queries to Mac about that he answered, and the question was, are motorized vehicles going to be allowed, like ATV trails and everything like that? And he answered no, that it's going to be hiking, but motorized vehicles would be allowed for maintenance activities, that sort of thing. But it is, like you say, it has unlimited access for hiking, so 10, yeah, thank you. Threat of development, what about that, you all?
I gave it an 8. I gave it,
Maximum points 5.
oh, well, for the first category, I gave it a 5. And then,
Well, how are we on that? I mean, if that's what it goes with, that's our max right there, but
Yeah.
what's everybody else think
well,
of that?
I
then,
gave it a 5.
then I gave it 3 more points for properties 2 to 5 miles from an unincorporated municipality.
5 max, so it gets a 5.
Oh,
Oh, it is a 5.
well, that's one of the things I had a problem with, isn't
There
it?
you go.
Okay, so it's a 5.
So what's it get for size of protected property?
It's 220, so
So 5.
A 5, very good. So, somebody want to add those points up?
Yeah, I think it's 52. Somebody check me.
Okay, 53. Let's see.
53, okay.
Yep.
53,
Yep, you're right. I
okay,
can't add.
all right. And so we transfer those over there to give us the 53 in the total section. Now we're looking at the next sheet, 1 of 2, conservation criteria. We just added that up to 53. And now financial criteria. Funding percentage requested. They've requested 10% of the appraised value. That's,
I gave it a 5.
Are
okay.
we on a specific form? Where are we at?
Yes, we do have
What am I
a
supposed
specific
to be
form.
looking at?
It's this form right here, evaluation criteria scoring.
Look at the
We're on the
back.
back side.
Thank you.
Now we're at the bottom
Okay.
section of
Okay,
that.
okay, thanks.
Okay. So Emily suggests a 5, excellent. They made a request for our 10% that we grant. Any other thoughts on that?
I agree with the 5, excellent.
Would it be better if they asked for half of it? Would we be happier with that?
Well, for me, I kind of looked at how much it's, because the property is worth so much. I mean, it's such a large thing. But yeah, you're right. If they had only asked for 44,000, we would be happy. So are you suggesting it should be a 4?
I mean, just kind of by that, I mean, I don't know, I mean.
Because everybody's gonna ask for 10%. Probably.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying, is that, yeah, if they didn't need as much money, we might be happier.
Okay.
But
But,
I don't understand that comment.
so they're asking for the max.
Right.
If they came up and asked us for, well, we want just 5% of it, we'd say, oh, okay, that's much easier to give you 5% than 10. We're happy that you only asked us for that. You got funding from other sources, the landowner's gonna donate more. That's nicer. We have more money to give to other folks. I mean, that's just the potential analysis.
And I can live with with asking for 10% being a 4. And if
And-
somebody asked for less, then it would be a 5.
What would we do if somebody asked for 15%?
I was just
Then
thinking.
it would be a 0, a 2, or a 3. A 2 or a 3.
I guess I would go to 4. So we got 2 5s, we got 2 4s. Ryan, what are you thinking?
Hey, I'm here. I agree with what everybody's saying. I would say probably around a 4.
Okay, let's do 4. Okay, matching or other monetary contributions from other agencies or groups.
I gave it a 5. Because, I'm trying to, they've already got, a bunch of money, and, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it's a bargain sale. It is a bargain sale, so the current owner is throwing in some money, and Natural Land Trust, it looks like, is gonna have to raise some money.
Mac, what's your proposal to the South Carolina Conservation Bank? How much?
So we asked the Conservation Bank for $630,000. They had a limited budget this round because they were getting so many requests from all over the state. There might be some more funding that is freed up, but right now they have awarded $550,000. That might change at tomorrow's meeting, and they might give us the initial ask. So we have $550,000 that is granted. We also have an application going into the QE Toxaway Enhancement Program for $150,000. We also have an application into Greenville Water for $100,000, but we have not heard back from them yet. We anticipate hearing back from all those, from Greenville Water before the end of the month, and we will not know about QE Toxaway Enhancement until the fall.
Sounds like to me that y'all have done a really good job of looking for money, and you've done a good job of securing money as well, so I would go with a 5 as well. Everybody okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. 5 for that. Low cost for value received, I think we've by our figuring, that comes out to about $400 an acre. Or that's what the applicant told us, $400 an acre. And that sounds like good math. So that sounds like a good value. What about that, Marvin? That sound like a good value?
Excellent.
Excellent. So 5 for that.
Works?
Other financial benefits. Any thoughts on that?
I did not have any.
Anybody have any other financial benefits? Mac, you got any thoughts about other financial benefits?
Can you describe what you mean there?
That's the problem. That's why we need to review the application. But, it could be, it's going to be a park. People are going to pay money, to go to it. There's a financial benefit.
Well, see, I put the possibility of it being a state park under other incentives, because we don't know, but it's a possibility, and I put it as a 4 because we don't know
Okay.
whether or not it's gonna go to So
I
I didn't
understand.
think about it as a financial benefit, I just thought about it as a potential, and maybe it should have been a 3 since it's just potential.
I see what you're saying. So we don't know of any specific financial benefits, and we do acknowledge that this is a part of the application that's a little bit fuzzy. But I like Emily's approach, that she, using that other incentives as a more general category to put a potential in there. We don't know of any specific financial benefits, so we get a 0 there, but there's great potential for other incentives at becoming actually public land, and it's going to be accessible. That's wonderful.
Ask Mac again what he thinks.
Can I ask a question? This is
Yes,
Matt.
sir, go ahead.
So in terms of financial benefit, and this is more just maybe a discussion topic for you all, if 5 is, a good score for this,
Yep.
Would it be more beneficial for us to charge the public to access this land, and then thus that being a financial benefit and getting a higher score? Or is it actually better for the public that it's open without a fee and open year round? Conversely, is it better if this is open for hunting through the WMA program where people have to purchase licenses to hunt on the property? Or is it actually better that this is just open for hiking? And these are just discussion points based on the scoring criteria that you all have laid out. We would prefer not to charge people to enter our properties. We'd like to keep them open to the public. But if, the scoring criteria means that we would get a higher score and thus more likely to get funding to purchase the property, we could be open to something like that.
Yeah, we understand, and I think it's a really good point. And I think we're also having our heads that fuzzy concept too of, well, if it's open to the public, you bring people here and they're spending money at hotels, motels, gas stations, restaurants, et cetera. May fall into that as well, but it's fairly fuzzy in my opinion.
Yeah, I think those are good points that the committee needs to consider when we're looking at this again.
So we're giving it 0 for other financial benefit, and we're going to give it what for other incentives?
I gave it a 4.
I'm good
Follow
with
your
that.
lead on that. So that's 18 points total there. Plus 53 and is
71, did I do better that time?
71, yep, okay. So could we have a motion to approve our scoring of Chapman Bridge?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. And could we get just a little bit of a report there? And we'll amend our motion if we need to and increase the scoring from the report.
Our report, our site?
Yes, ma'am. You want to tell us something verbally, too?
Oh, yes, I can. Do you want a copy of this? I think, Emily, you've got a copy, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Laura Havern is distributing
Yeah.
and filing with Katie her written report
Yeah.
from their site visit.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and give us an oral there.
You want me to read it?
You can do it however you want to do it.
Okay. This is the report to the OCCB on the site visit to Cliff Timbers, Chapman Bridge Road. Attendees were Laura Havern, Emily Hitchcock, and Max Stone. Laura and Emily joined Mac for a site visit and hike on the Cliff Timbers Chapman Bridge Road property, which is 220 acres. We entered the property through the old logging gate, traversed a 1.2 acre clear-cut area that was used for the sawmill and later for a hunting club's parking area before heading down the logging road. The property is serene and natural as it has not been logged in over 40 years. We traversed down the hill following animal trails to the unnamed Blue Line Stream, which is approximately 4,900 feet of a stream which flows through. The predominant evergreen trees are white pine and loblolly. They are mixed in with deciduous and evergreen forest. The remainder of the property is deciduous trees. Abundant mountain laurel were still in the last phases of blooming, with rhododendrons sporting their buds. Trillium were evident, as was poison ivy and many other species of plants. As we neared the banks of the stream, ferns and Oconee bell, which were not in bloom, were in abundance all along the stream beds. Small waterfalls and rock formations are evident along the streams. We hiked the animal trails down to the apex of another unnamed stream before heading back up to the logging trail and following it back to the clear-cut area. As we were exiting, we saw fresh bear scat and turkey tracks. Near the gate were the only invasive species we saw, yellow honeysuckle and mimosa, which Mac explained that they will take care of after they take possession of the property. I give the compass location along the stream, which was near the small waterfall area. And that was one so I could go back and look at it on a Google map. I had taken the compass location. During the 1.3-mile hike through the mud and the rain, we saw no issues that concerned us. The property will make a great hiking area as well as a great way to preserve the abundant Oconee bells. Submitted by Laura Havron and Emily Hitchcock.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous property. Very serene, beautiful. Far enough away from any major roads or even the lake that you're not getting any noise. So what you're listening to is, the trees and the birds and yeah. And the hiking was not extremely difficult. I mean, it's, I think, we made it. Emily and I made it up and down and yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, but it is beautiful.
We have a motion to accept the report in a second. I move that we do.
Second.
Marvin, so any discussion on that? We don't really have a point system for reports, so. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think whatever we may have gleaned from the visit,
Ryan?
I said aye.
Thank you, sir.
we mentioned in the discussion.
So, do we have a motion to approve the application for funding and for funding in the amount applied for?
So moved?
Yeah.
Can
For
you say the
80,
amount?
$88,000.
second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan. And thanks, Mac.
Hooray. Thank you all so much. This is a major win and a great success for protecting these beautiful plants and this tributary of Lake Huey. I think Emily and Laura could probably attest to the fact that this property is well worth all of y'all to come and visit. It's just absolutely stunning.
We look forward to that. Logistics are that we have 60 days from the application deadline, which was April 1st, to get our report to the county council. Emily, as we said earlier, she's going to give that report. The council's meeting today. They're not going to get a report for today, but it'll be submitted in writing, and then the council will have its vote on it on June 2nd. That's the logistics.
One thing that I just realized is that because this property does not have a conservation easement on it at this time, the proposed ordinance changes have not been approved, obviously, but I'm wondering if we need to have someone draft the language and ask Natural Land Trust to include in the deed referencing the grant and the conditions.
We'll have a chance to review that deed before the closing. Could we-
Because one of the changes we made to the, proposed to the ordinance
Yep.
said that we had, that we could either require specific language if there's not a conservation easement. And of course, that change has not been adopted by council yet. I
That's
just
right.
wondered if we wanted to ask
So hang on just a minute, let's see here.
Are you wanting a conservation easement on it?
What?
Are you wanting a conservation easement? I guess I'm not sure.
No, this is a fee simple purchase.
Yeah, this is a fee simple.
Right.
Okay, so we asked them the question, our queries, will the Natureland Trust place a conservation easement on the property or include appropriate permanent conservation language in the deed? The answer was, upon closing, a standard South Carolina Conservation Bank grant agreement will be recorded with the deed to note the purpose of the acquisition and long-term management is for conservation purposes only. That grant agreement will run with the title of the property as they have done in the past and recently in Oconee County. If they ever transfer the property to a state entity, they will record a conservation easement for additional protection. So that's the answer that we've been given to that basic question, that
Right.
general question.
And because we do not have a grant agreement that will also be filed and run with the deed, run with the land, there is nothing on notice to a future buyer at this time that they received money from OCCB and that there are conditions attached.
Got it.
And while I have utmost confidence in Natural Land Trust as it sits today, should they still own the property in 50 years and there was a management change, I would hate to see the property sold and the owner not realize that they had obligations to the OCCB related to that land.
I understand. So, Mac, two questions to you. One, could the South Carolina Conservation Bank grant agreement reference our funding?
I think that that's probably a question for the South Carolina Conservation Bank for Raleigh. I don't think so.
Okay, understand.
Because they would only be, obligated to fulfill their own requirements. But I think that their requirements and their standard grant
Yep.
agreement would probably be acceptable to you all. If you haven't seen one, I can send one to you.
Yeah, I've seen one, we got it. I appreciate that. So the second question would be, can there be a reference to it in the deed?
Where would we see them?
I believe so. Yes, I don't see why that would be a problem. It just depends on what the language you would want included.
Yeah, and I think the most basic of the language was that this deed is subject to the provisions of the OCCB ordinance.
I think that's okay.
Having received funding
I
from
don't
the
know
Oconee
that would
County
be
Conservation Bank. That work for you, Emily?
I
Something like
think so.
that?
Can I just make a motion that Matt have the closing attorney contact Chairman Smith to agree on the language in the deed referencing this grant?
We have a second for that?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Mac, you into that?
That's fine. I'll have our attorney contact you.
Sounds fine with me. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You get that? Aye. Thanks, Ryan.
I did have pictures I forgot that I had sent to Katie to display. Do you want to see
That's
that?
part of your report. So we're good and we see them.
Can you see it? There's one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Emily and Mac. I think we're following an animal trail,
It's beautiful.
and those are the ferns. And go ahead, keep moving. And that's one of the streams, and you can see the Oconee Bell. Oconee Bell is just prolific all along both sides. That's probably not even the biggest area. In the stream, yeah, and you can see the Oconee Bell there. That's the mountain laurel. Yeah, and there was one of the waterfalls. It's not huge, but it's just, it's a very pretty rock area.
It's great.
And I will actually print these out and hopefully can upload
Okay.
these all back up.
Okay. Yeah, we were discussing, that was the apex of the two unnamed streams that we were at and talking about the whole property. And then this is the clear-cut area up at the top. And it's like 1.2 acres and, I mean, it's just totally open. There's nothing up there. No buildings, anything.
What's your plans for that, Mac?
We don't have a plan for that. I guess it's to let, in that area, there already are some poplars and some pines growing up. I've thought about this being what could be a parking area for people coming onto the property to then start their hike. The issue with that would be that if you open up the gate that then comes into this area, you then have another problem where people could bring their cars in off the road. We've always found that parking areas that aren't visible from the road can be problematic. So we'll probably just let that grow up in natural succession.
I understand. Is there any old growth on the property?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This was pretty heavily timbered back before Duke sold it to the different entities. However, the mountain laurel that is all along the streams is definitely very, very old. I mean,
Gotcha.
It's very large. But there are trees in there that are probably 80 years old, 70 years old. But in terms of virginal timber, I don't know.
Thanks, Mac. Okay. Everybody ready to move on to Elaine Morrison? And thanks so much, Mac. We appreciate you.
Thank you all.
So now we're looking at the Elaine Morris application, and this is, as we know, a resubmission. It was a project that was funded in the amount of this present request, but due to logistical problems with the owner, I believe, the closing was never done. The transfer was never closed. So Upstate Forever reapplied, and that's what we're looking at now. So let's do our criteria funding on this guy, on this property. We're back on the criteria worksheet. Wetlands.
I think I put a 4 because it's minimal, but wasn't sure if it's 0.6 acres. For a 26-acre property, I wasn't sure if that was.
Any other suggestions on there? I think I had a 0 down.
Yeah, I had a 0 for wetlands, but it has Mill Creek for the lakes, but it didn't have wetlands.
What was the applicant's answer to that question?
I think it was no, because there was no certification. Is this Eddie?
This is Upstate Forever. So we got a no on that. So
Yeah,
I'd vote we go with, yeah.
no.
Okay. I obviously misread it.
Let's go to 0.
Okay.
Blue Line Streams,
That was a yes.
so that's a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Adjacent to, I think that's going to be a 5 as
It was a
well.
5, yeah.
Presence of habitat suitable for T&Es,
Yes, 5.
5.
Well, let me throw out, on this one and the habitat suitable for native wildlife species, I gave them both a 4 because it contains invasive species. There are no efforts underway right now to control them, and there are no requirements. There are no prohibitions, but because we don't have any kind of that's a fairly small and disturbed property to have invasive species. So that's the reason I gave them both a 4.
But this is dealing not with invasive species, but is a habitat that's suitable.
Yes, but it won't be suitable if
Right.
the invasive species are not controlled.
If they outcompete, you know. I think it's a good point, Emily. I'm happy with a 4.
Okay.
Presence of habitat suitable for native wildlife species, same
I
point?
gave it a 4.
Okay. Presence of special or concentrated biodiversity.
I had a 0.
I had a 5.
I had a 5 too, based on the Exhibit G, I guess.
Ryan, do you have an opinion on that?
What
No, I
was-
do not.
Okay. You had a 0, is that right, Laura?
I did. I marked where exhibit went with it, but you did it based on G, and I said no. I don't know why. So, anyway, no, we can give it a 4.
Well, let's go with the 2 5s then. 7, unique
So
geologic,
you went with a what?
5.
That's
Oh.
0.
Okay.
Yeah, so, anyway.
Unique geologic natural feature,
I had a 0.
0. So our total there is 23.
18? No.
No, 22, because
15,
it's 12 plus 10, right?
15 plus 8.
15 plus 8. So,
All right.
so that is,
Percentage of property boundaries shared with protected lands.
6.
Okay. Everybody agree with 6?
yeah.
Historical cultural features.
I had a 1 because of the remains of the old historic chimney and foundation, but it exists, but that's it. It will continue to crumble.
Yeah, I had a 3 for that reason, that they were there. Anybody else have a score?
I think I'm comfortable with a 3.
Ryan, do you have a score on that one?
I would go with 3.
Okay?
That okay with you, Marvin?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, soil types, 0.
0.
Actively farmed, 0.
I thought it was. Oh, no,
No.
it's not. No, sorry.
Visibility of the property for the public.
I gave it a 3 because it is visible from the road. But
I went there yesterday. It is, but very limited. So I think a 3 is probably appropriate from my view of being there. Any other thoughts on that? Scenic view from property.
0. But you were there. Is there a scenic?
Well, I didn't go on the proproperty, so I don't, from
It
the
has
way
a view of the forest, doesn't it?
I look at that question.
Of course, then it's what's the view benefit to the public's scenic view?
Chris, what do you think the scenic view from the property is like?
You had to ask. I haven't been there, but
What?
my guess is there's no scenic view from the property. 26 acres tucked in some woods, entirely wooded. I don't think there's a view at all. Scott, in the original application, probably would have included a photo of the view, and did not.
Okay,
So,
Probably a 0.
too much.
so we'll go with 0. Thanks, Chris. Public access.
0.
0.
Yeah, it's a conservation easement, right?
Yes.
And threat of development,
Is the 5 again.
5.
5.
That's what I came up with. Size,
Would be 0.
to be 0, so that gives us a total. 32.
But you've got the property, the 2 to 5 miles of an incorporated,
You see,
Did we do
again,
those?
the maximum for that category is 5.
5, got it.
I had
Yes.
done the same thing, so we'll just have to look at that. I think I
It'd be a
came up with 29,
Yeah.
32, 35, 40, is that right?
40.
Yes, we're at 40 right now, so. yeah.
Okay, so now we're moving over to the summary sheet. and looking at the financial aspect of it, our total there on conservation criteria is 40. Funding.
Is it
for
40 or 45? Because the size of the protected property, you've got five, or you have.
Zero,
You have-
right?
Yeah,
why
It's
is?
less than 51 acres, less than 50 acres.
Oh, got it.
So funding percentage requested, they are actually requesting more than 10%. Of course, that's what they were granted before. It's still within our criteria. I would think it has to fall under,
I gave it
Zero,
a
two, or three.
3. But just because it had already been approved once, but it's outside the criteria, but I didn't know if it should be lower than that.
Well, yeah, I would go 2 or 3, and the reason I'd go 3 is because it's a prior approval.
Yeah.
Everybody okay with a 3 on that?
Okay.
Matching or other monetary contributions from other agencies?
And as I read this, if I got it correctly, they have gotten some, but the value was $600, which is fairly low. So I came up with a 3 on that. It was for the staff time, unless I missed something.
Chris, there's no other sources of funding, right? It's,
No, there are no other grant funds at this time. It's possible that Upstate Forever puts a little something in. I would imagine that being Conservation Bank or anyone else at this moment. No.
so are they gonna put a conservation easement on it if all they get's $12,500?
Yes, if the board and the council approve 12,500, there will be a conservation easement, yes.
Okay.
And I had put a 5 under other incentives, because the landowner is donating 79% of the conservation value. I mean, that skipped down.
Okay, so let's just stick with number 2 there. Matching, we're gonna say 0, right?
Okay, that's fine.
Low cost for value received, I think they get a 5 on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Other financial benefit, we don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Other incentives,
And then that's where I gave it the 5, because the landowner's donating 79% of the conservation value.
yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yes.
For a total score of 13 on financial criteria for a total score of 53. And so I did go out and visit it. You can just, and it's way back in there, back in the kind of general Choey Valley area off of Choey Valley Road. Just absolutely gorgeous. Small piece of property. You can just get to the gate where Pearson Road ends and look in. There's a couple of buildings there. How many people live on this property, Chris?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if Mrs. Morris lives there or not, to be honest
Okay.
with you. I've never met her. I've never been to the property.
Okay, and the conservation easement it would not allow additional home sites, correct?
No, just the one.
Okay,
The
all right.
one that's already there.
But it was gorgeous, great setting, some open area there, but I think mainly forest. We thought it was absolutely gorgeous. Do we have a motion on this application?
So moved.
Oh, wait,
To
I'm
approve?
sorry. Let's have a motion first to accept our criteria ranking for this property.
53.
Yeah.
Motion.
We have a
Second.
second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Brian?
Aye.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do we have a motion on the application? Funding.
For how much?
I'll make a
For
motion.
12,500, yes, so go ahead, Emily.
Okay, I'll move that we award a grant of 12,500.
Second,
I second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Very good. And thank you, Chris, for standing in for Scott. We appreciate it.
I apologize for that. I hate that, but I do appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And hey, just food for thought. When this financial benefits question, there are things such as buffers providing water quality treatment. It's hard to put a dollar value to that, but I believe that any property that has blue line streams does provide some financial benefit. That's this project or any project for that matter, but
Yeah.
you know, you have the blue line stream question in there already. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I don't know. As you sort of try to figure out how to define that question more in the future, I think it's potential that's one aspect.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's a very good point, Chris. I think you're talking about ecosystem services, right?
Exactly. Perfect.
We would be happy to entertain an answer to one of those questions that it provides $45,000 worth of ecosystem services and have you tell us why, as an example.
Yeah.
So thanks. That's a very good point. And I think you're right. I mean, that whole area of study and concept is still in its formation stages for how to value those things, but I think it's actually moved along enough to where you could start giving values. And I think it ought to, so that's a great point. So the third property is the Gary Lyle, 165 plus acres submitted.
I will recuse myself for Gary.
Okay, and all right,
I'm good with,
The quorum.
the quorum. I don't need to stay for that, correct?
that is correct. You don't need to stay for the quorum because we have a quorum that holds after you leave, and we're not really going to be doing anything else after this. It's up to you, I think, whether you want to stay or not. I mean, maybe something will come up we vote on besides adjourning, but I don't know that for sure. It's up to you.
I'm gonna recuse myself and leave unless
Okay.
there's something.
Mr. Prayer,
Yes.
before you leave, I do need you to sign the recusal form.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, if you just, we're
Okay.
gonna exit this door here.
I will.
I need to go get it from my office, so if you just wanna sit in the back, I'll be right back.
Sure, okay.
Okay, is it okay if we go ahead, Katie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Gary Lyle property. Thanks, Marv.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Well, have a great day.
Okay, you too. All right. So, page 1 of 4, number 1, wetlands.
No, 0.
Number 2, blue line stream.
And yes, 5.
5.
Adjacent to other waters, classified waters.
No.
0, yeah. Presence of habitat suitable for T&Es.
Yes.
And I had 4 on both of these, and my reason on this one was it said, because it's a tree farm, there's gonna be periodic disruption of the habitat. And I know that is good for some habitat, but not for others.
Yeah.
So, but I just, put a 4 on both that and the native wildlife because of that disruption, and I don't know if
I think it's a very good point, Emily. Anybody else have a comment on Emily's point there?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, are we okay with 4s on both those? For that reason?
I'm okay with that, yes.
Presence of special concentrated biodiversity,
No.
applicant gave us 0. Unique geological, no.
Nope.
So we have a total there of 13, I believe.
Right.
yes.
Percentage shared,
0.
0. Historical cultural features.
Oh, I'm sorry, going back to the percentage shared.
Uh-huh.
I can't even remember what we did on the last one when I brought this up. I had a 1 down because it's within a mile of the Sumter National Forest and Buzzard Roost Preserve. And
Shared.
And it's
We're-
a shared, so the last time I brought this up,
We're sticking
Like
with
on-
0,
we did 0?
because it doesn't have a shared boundary.
Okay,
Historic cultural features,
I had
0.
0.
0. Soils,
0,
0.
farmed,
5,
5, yes.
Visibility of property from county roads or from other public lands,
5,
5. Scenic view from property, I was there, not yesterday, there Sunday, there and the Elaine Morris on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, you drive Pearson Road, which is, the property is on either side of Pearson Road, so you're driving into not quite the heart of the property, it's slanted towards one side of it. But yeah, you got scenic views from there, just the pastoral land views of that
Okay.
part of Oconee County. So, I mean, I'd give it a 4. It doesn't have the big mountain views and all that, but it's got scenic views from it.
Okay.
okay.
Public access,
It's no.
it's gonna be 0 because it's a farm. Threat of development,
See, this is where I did it so funky, because I ended up with a 5, because I gave it 2, even though it's not adjacent to, it, or within a protected property, it's just a mile away. So to me, that made it a threat of development, so I gave it a 2 then. And then I gave it a 3 for being 2 to 5 miles from an incorporated municipality, which ended me up with the 5.
okay, I understand. I had given it a 3 because it's within 2 to 5 of a
Yeah.
incorporated municipality. Any other thoughts, comments on Emily's?
I'm fine with the 2.
I'm fine with the 3, you're fine with the 2, Emily's fine with the 5. Ryan, what you want? Ryan?
This,
He's muted. I can't unmute him on my end because he's.
Ryan, can you hear us?
he may have stepped out.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Ryan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear.
So what do you want to put there under threat of development?
My phone actually, my connection got kind of bad. Can you
Okay.
repeat just real quickly so I can kind of catch up? Just
Yeah,
last
we're
10
talking
seconds?
about threat of development, and Emily says 5, I say 3, Laura says 2. What do you say?
Actually, I
I
had a
would say
3.
3.
Okay, so we had 3 3s and a 5, so we'll go with
Okay.
3.
Works for me.
All right, and then size,
It was 165, so it's 5.
It's a
5.
5.
So what's our total there then?
8 plus 22 is 30,
37,
is that right?
35 is what I got total.
35?
13 plus,
I've got 35.
yeah.
13 plus 5 plus 5 plus 4 plus 3 plus 5.
Sounds right.
Chairman, because I had to step out real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you mind just telling me, you don't have to go over everything, if you can just tell me what the numbers you got for each category?
Okay, do you want that summary on that first category, or do you want each?
Yeah, just tell me like for the environmental sensitivity, what did you get for that?
13.
Okay.
Percentage, 0. History, 0. Soil, 0. Farmed, 5. Visibility, 5. View, 4. Access, 0.
Oh, visibility was what? I'm sorry.
Visibility's 5.
5,
View is 4.
4.
Access is 0. Threat is 3.
Access is 4,
Access is view is 4.
and access is
0.
0. And then I come in at the threat, so I got that.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, 35. So now let's flip over to our financial criteria. What are we looking for there? They asked for 10%, right? No,
10%?
no. Yeah, that's right. It's $450,000 value of the conservation easement. They asked for 45, so that's 10%.
And based on what we did with Chapman Bridge, that should be a 4.
Okay, 4. Matching other monetary contributions?
So they have South Carolina State Bank,
Conservation Bank, you mean?
yes, sorry. I've got down SCCB is 143K and UF is 9K. So, so that's 152K that's been contributed by other agencies, and the request from us is 45. So they've got 3 times as much from other agencies.
Eddie, do you have any other prospects for funding?
I do not. This is generally, because well, I'll put that in a minute, but no, there are no more prospects for funding on this property.
So if they get the 143 and the 9,000 and then 45 from us, are they going to put a conservation easement on the property?
Oh, the conservation easement is required from the funding from the South Carolina Conservation Bank.
Yeah. And the landowner's putting in the rest.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so I got you there. Okay, so with those 3 funding sources, the landowner's going to contribute the rest?
Correct.
Okay.
So I gave it a 5 for matching contributions from other agencies or groups.
We can consider you considering the owners of group?
No, I put the owners down under other
I
incentives,
got you.
again,
Okay.
just to be
Okay.
consistent with the way I did a different one.
Well,
And
and
what
I
would
was
you give
thinking,
it for that?
Huh?
What would you give it for that? 4, 5? For the other incentive?
Under other incentives,
Yeah.
it's contributing half, so isn't it, so I gave that a 5. I
That's
thought
more than
that's,
half, right?
uh,
250 or something like that.
Out of, yeah, it's 252 out of 450 is the value, so,
So other
yeah,
incentives.
more than half.
I like that as well. I think 5 there. But I would think 3 just on other groups or agencies because, I mean.
It's 3 times what we were,
But I'm looking at it from the point of view of that ideally you'd want to get maximum, you'd want to top out, get all the money from other groups and agencies. That's,
well,
How easy is it to reach these outfits and get this money? We are, we are stretched thin from the aspect of who to go to, who to ask for.
no, I understand. I got you. It's just,
Okay.
it's kind of a comparative basis, Eddie.
Right.
so what I was looking at was on the Chapman Bridge, we gave them a 5, and they got, let me see, but you're right, on Chapman Bridge, they got a higher percentage donated from other agencies, so they did not get any points for a landowner contribution or anything like that, even though it actually was a sale. So something less than a 5 might be, yeah, I can live with that. I was just checking to see if we're consistent.
Yeah. So what do we want to give for that? It'd be 3 or 4, I would think. Laura, your opinion?
4.
Ryan, you got an opinion on that?
I would say 4.
Okay, 4 sounds great. Low cost for value received, I think it's great. It comes in, I think, at $273 an acre for us.
So I gave it a 5.
That's excellent, yeah. Other financial benefit,
And I did throw out a 2 here because it is currently available from a willing seller, meaning, as I understood it, that the potential for it going on the market. But I don't know if I was interpreting that statement correctly.
well, there's also and I agree, and that could be true of all of them. I mean, all of
Yeah.
these properties could be sold on the market, I'm sure. But this property, since it's actively farmed, it's producing revenue that's employing people.
Yes, that's right.
It's not just tourists coming in, maybe not. You're gonna have people making money off of this thing, and it's
Okay.
pumping into the economy.
Okay,
So, I mean, I guess I would go for a 3 on that aspect of it.
okay,
And then other incentives, because the landowner's given so much, which is huge, 5 for that.
Yeah.
So that's 13 plus 8, that's 20, what, 21? Is that what you get, Laura?
Yeah.
21. 21 plus 35 equals 56.
Six.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt, to approve our criteria rankings?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good. Do we have a motion on funding for the Lyle application submitted by the Coney Soil and Water Conservation District
And the amount of,
in the amount of $45,000? I move. Andy, Chair.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Ryan. Oh, one thing I did want to ask there, and I should have brought it up earlier, and I apologize for that. There are two questions. One, Eddie, will there be any other home sites on this property?
No,
Okay, and how big of the buffer is going to be? Because I recognize one of the questions was whether or not it's going to be clear cut, and the response was that best management forestry practice is going to be used, which I think means that includes clear cuts, correct?
it will include either select thinning or the possibility of a complete cut, yes.
And I've seen conservation easements that prohibited clear cutting, and I understand that clear cutting is part of forestry practices and falls within best management practices, but my concern would be, particularly on this property, I mean, 8,000 feet of streams that, because, you know, there's public money is going to this, to a private owner, that, that you might want to exceed the best management practices and have larger buffers between clear cuts and streams. You know, I don't know what the best management practice number is for distance buffers from streams for clear cuts, but I would surely feel much better if there was an even bigger buffer here because of what it is, because it's getting public funding for conservation, and we do completely appreciate the owner taking it off the development market. That's a huge thing. But it's a vulnerable property, you know, because of those streams. And so
Right.
what do you think the buffers will be for this property
I'm
along its
thinking that they
streams?
call for 25 feet buffers on cutting.
25?
That would have been a tremendous question for Marvin to have been able to answer,
I see.
because he deals with that all the time.
25's not
But-
much.
I understand that. But this property owner is and has been concerned with the conservation value of the property. I don't
Right.
think that he's going to do anything that's going to jeopardize the streams, because he understands the importance of them as well.
We understand. Yeah, we agree and understand that and believe that, but we don't know who's going to be there 100 years from now.
Right.
And so I would encourage that to be a part of the management plan to hold to.
Okay. I can go to him and we can make discussions on that and see where the management plan is headed from this point.
Please do.
I'll do it.
Any
And-
other comments?
Well, even, is the management plan going to be incorporated into the CE? If it's not, I would even like to have it in the CE that there will be, if your negotiations result in his agreeing to a buffer greater than the 25 feet, I would like it in the CE, not just the management plan.
I think that's a good idea.
And I realize that this is just conversation at this point.
Correct.
Okay, any other comments by anybody? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. No?
We have a second?
Okay. Sorry, I thought you did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody, for participating. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Take care, man.